Hello again and welcome to the second edition of the Try Hard NRL Betting Podcast. And today, what you've been waiting for, Round 1 preview.
It's been a long time! Oh, it's been a long time, man.
It has been a very long time since we've been able to bet on NRL, hasn't it?
Footy's back.
It is back in a big way. And it's great to be able to bet on some Aussie sports that we actually care about now.
That's right. And today, the first thing we want to do in this pod is probably just do a bit of betting 101. You know, some people out there aren't as savvy or accustomed to all the betting lingo that we might use.
Yeah, well, that's exactly right. And there are some simple, little things that you can know here and there because we are going to discuss most of our bets against the line and with the spread and all these terminologies that you will have to know.
Yeah, and that's going to help you make money. And, you probably hear people talking about a betting line and not everyone out there exactly understands how it works.
Yep.
So we're going to speak about a bit of betting terminology for you.
Yep.
We'll go through all the games for round 1.
Each and every game.
Share our thoughts on those.
Yep. And then, we're going to listen to some viewer feedback as well. We have a bit of it this week.
And most importantly, give out some winning bets.
Yep.
So
absolutely.
12 and 4, 75% on American sports, but this is where we butter our bread now for real.
Yep.
But starting with a bit of feedback, obviously we had the much maligned season preview pod last week.
Absolutely. We've got a few viewers and we got a lot of feedback.
It had its ups and downs. I mean, I just want to say, we're doing a recorded live, unscripted, unedited kind of pod, and sometimes you're going to make mistakes.
Sometimes mistakes happen. Yeah.
Sometimes you speak about what the best mascot in the league is for 15 minutes.
Yeah, sometimes you go over the top with those things a little bit.
And we appreciate the feedback. It's great to know people out there listening, and we strive to get better.
We get one take, that's it. So, hope you like it a little better this time.
Yeah. So I got a bit of feedback on the name.
Oh, yep.
Obviously, as we
said, get a lot of feedback on the name.
We used to be known as Two Peanuts in a Podcast. We changed the name to try and make it. It was advised by our marketing department to make it a little bit easier for people to search. Out there now, it's maybe not as. Yeah,
it's all about the tags. It's all about the hits that you get on Google.
That's true.
Well, I think we can admit that we liked the last name better, but
we did. But
for marketing purposes, it just had to be changed.
Yeah. So still, we appreciate the feedback. I got an email in from Hannah in Hamilton, and she actually wrote, "Why the name change? Two Peanuts in a Podcast was gold."
Oh, that's funny. I actually got an email from Michael in Hamilton. He says, "Why did you change the name, you peanuts? Two Peanuts in a Podcast is the name." Now, didn't we decide that Michael lives with Hannah there?
I think we established that in the previous underground pods, but that's
I
very
think we
rare.
did.
I don't know if that's the case because it's very rare that Michael would just agree with Hannah.
It is. Yeah, it is very, very weird.
Yeah,
I think that's the first time we've seen that.
Now I got another one actually. This one a little more blunt. Chris in Sydney's just written, "The new name is," and I'm gonna have to edit this out. This is a family friendly pod.
Yeah, we don't have an editing department.
But hopefully you can use your imagination on this one. But he's written, "The new name is Bleeping Bleep."
That's all he had to say about that one.
That's it. So.
Yeah, righto. Well, that's all the feedback that we got on the name. We did also get some feedback on the season preview. Now, Sophie in Cooley said, "All I want are winning bets so my boyfriend can buy me nice things. But 45 minutes is just too long for my attention span. Can you please cut the time of the pod down so that I can listen to the whole pod on the way to work?" That's fair enough.
I think that's good feedback. We're definitely going to make this one shorter and sharper.
We're going to try and cut it down for you, Sophie.
Yeah. I got one from Brogsy in the Hood. Brogsy?
Brogsy. Sounds like a black name.
Yep.
In the Hood.
Now, again, I'm going to have to censor this one. "You bleeps are not bleeping funny. I have listened to the first bleeping minutes of the bleeping pod, and it is utter bleeping bleep."
A lot of expletives there, Brogsy. Brogsy's actually sent us through another one. "The mascot segment was absolute garbage. If I wanted to know who would win between a crocodile and an anaconda, I'd watch David bleeping Attenborough." Yeah, well.
And look, we're taking that on board as well.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough.
We're trying to answer a viewer question. It's got to be said.
Well, Lisa in Darwin is a loyal listener. We tried to answer it the best we can.
I'm sure she was happy with the answer, but maybe not everyone else was.
Yeah.
Evan in Sacramento actually also had a comment. He said, "The mascot handicap section was pretty bad."
Yeah.
So again.
Now we've got... Oh, Evan also says, we get it. You like KFC. Well, he's not wrong there.
That point was made loud and clear. Oh, Lisa in Darwin.
Oh, yeah, there she is.
Yeah, she's actually written through and said, even I got bored in the mascot section. You gimps.
Oh.
So,
yeah,
it's
hopefully,
pretty resounding.
Yeah, hopefully we haven't lost a loyal listener.
Response there.
Yeah.
Pretty unanimous.
Now, Nick in Alice Springs says, haven't Manly been on the slide since 2007?
Now, look, he's, maybe got his feathers ruffled a little bit by what we've said about Manly. Time's going to tell.
Yep.
And they can definitely prove us wrong this weekend. But nice to have someone listening in Alice Springs. I've got Jeremy in Emerald. He was kind enough to email in and say, Kelly doesn't play for the Titans anymore, bro.
Yeah, no, it's good. At least we have a listener out there that's giving us some valid feedback here. It's nice to know that you're listening out there, Jeremy and Emerald.
And appreciate that, mate.
We do appreciate the feedback.
We do study pretty hard, but, even...
Oh, well, in the live shows, mistakes can be made and they can't be edited out.
In the heat of the moment.
Yeah, well, that's right.
But that's very true. So, obviously, there's Daniel Mortimer playing in the halves with Caesar at the Titans. And we'll touch on that a little bit more when we review the game.
I've got actually one here from Adam in Emerald. Look, I don't care how disgraceful your pod is. You made me money in the off-season. All I need you to do is do it again. I'm running on fumes on my minimum wage and I need some cash that I can spend on the ponies. Oh.
And he's probably referring to the 12-4 record that we had in the off-season.
Adam in Emerald was a loyal listener in the off-season and we did make him a few bucks.
Yeah, I think he often said to me that was his primary income that he had to put in his tax statement was just betting best bets off the pod.
Yeah, well, that's right.
So, and it's good to hear that.
Now our last viewer feedback, it's from Jacob in Toowong, and he says, you pair of low-life cretins. That was 42 minutes of the most abhorrent, cringeworthy guff I've ever heard. Jacob in Toowong.
That's pretty scathing.
Yeah, Jacob in Toowong.
Yep.
Did you write that?
Yep.
Okay, well, moving on now.
Okay, so why don't we dive straight into betting 101 and just telling the listeners out there how do lines work.
Yep.
So you quite often hear about a line for a game is plus 5.5. Can you explain what that means?
Yeah, so let's just say, for example, let's take the Brisbane Broncos and the South Sydney Rabbitohs, for example.
Kicking off tomorrow night?
Yep. So the Brisbane Broncos are plus 4, South Sydney Rabbitohs are minus 4. Now, basically what this means is that they're saying that the game should land with the South Sydney Rabbitohs winning by 4 points. So it's basically a 50-50 bet that you are getting. Now, if you bet on the South Sydney Rabbitohs minus 4 points, in order to win your bet, you need them to win by more than 4 points. And if it lands on 4, you basically just get your money back.
So it's almost as if you didn't bet.
Yeah, well, that's exactly right.
Where's the fun in that?
That's right. And look, with the Brisbane Broncos plus 4, now all you need to do is for the Brisbane Broncos either to win or to lose by less than 4 points.
Yep, so the point spread, or the line, as we call it, is the great equaliser. So you can look at any game and a team's going to have an advantage, whether they've got better players in certain positions, less injuries, home field advantage, they've, better form, and you can decide which side is better and which side has a better chance to win. And a lot of people can tell you that, and a lot of people can figure that out.
Yeah.
But when you bring the line into it, well, now you've got a team that, the vast consensus is saying is going to win. But if the line's minus 8, well, now they have to win by more than 8 for you to win the bet.
Well, exactly. And it's basically just like the other team starting with an 8-point head start.
Yes, and that's how you can also think about it. So if the line is plus 4, just take the final score, add 4 to your team, and then if they won after you added 4, then your bet won.
Yep.
Or, conversely, take 4 away from your side, and if they still won, then you've cashed the ticket. Mm-hmm. And all of these bets are based on a $1.90 line, which basically means for every $1 you bet, you win 90 cents, which is exactly basically doubling your money. But that 10 cents that you're losing there is the edge that the sports
that's
have.
Right. And that's exactly like going to the casino playing roulette, something like that.
Yep.
They all take their little cut. So in this case, it's 10 cents out of the $1 that they take, and that's the advantage that the bookie gets, or the sports bet or sporting bet or whatever. And look, you may think, well, this is a little bit unfair. I should be getting 2-to-1 odds, $2 for every $1 that I put down on a 50-50 bet. But the advantage that you do have is you don't have to play every game, do you? You can pick and choose which games you want to play depending on where you see value.
That's right. So, I mean, what we're saying is if you bet blindly, for every $200 you bet, you're going to win. Half the time, you're going to win $190. So, you're going to lose 5% in the long run. But with our advice, we're going to make sure that for the money you're putting down, you're getting a higher return on your investment. We're going to make that positive expected value for you.
Definitely. We'll help you make good bets and we'll stop you making bad ones.
Yeah. Now, we'll touch on a few more betting principles throughout the games. In fact, I think we'll start actually reviewing the games now.
Yep. But first, a word from our very loyal sponsors, Evsanity. And because we don't have a marketing department, it takes us a little bit of time to get this ad ready, but here we go.
Need to kickstart your own pre-season training? The Try Hard NRL Betting Podcast is proudly sponsored by Evsanity, the Performance Athletic Association specialising in functional and sports-specific training. Find and follow Evsanity on Instagram today.
Thanks, Evan, and a loyal listener and a loyal supporter of the pod has been for many years. If you get a chance, go check out his website. Got a lot of cool apparel on there, and hit him up for his personal training.
Life-changing stuff. So we got Brisbane Broncos hosting South Sydney Rabbitohs Thursday night at Suncorp Stadium.
First game of the week, and me and Jacob have a bit to say about this game, but what we should probably say is that initially, about 2 weeks ago, the South Sydney Rabbitohs were actually underdogs. They were they were plus 2 points, so they were getting 2 points, so they were the 2-point underdogs. And how that's changed since then. They're now 4-point favourites. What's been the cause of this line move?
I mean, we said 2 weeks ago, why do we have the defending champions, a team absolutely stacked on paper, coming into Brisbane, a team with a new coach and, new system, and getting points? Yep. It seemed a bit wrong to us then, and we both actually grabbed +2, and we had written down that we're going to share that with our viewers and make that one of our best bets.
Yep.
But, as we know, 49-0 over in England.
Yeah, well, that's exactly right, and that's where it all sort of kick-started. And this is sometimes where you have to pay attention as well. And we both saw South Sydney Rabbitohs at $2, and we knew that the games were going on in the World Club Challenge over in England. We saw that South Sydney was winning, I think, 42-0 in like the 65th minute or something like that. The odds still haven't changed. And that's another thing. Sometimes betting is all about public perception. If the public thinks that a team is, maybe better than they really are, or you have a very public team that everyone likes to bet on, then you're most likely going to get a little bit less value off them. So straight away, as soon as the South Sydney Rabbitohs won that game 49-0, their odds actually came down from 2-point underdogs, and they were a 50-50 game after that.
And it wasn't long till after that when they became a 4-point favourite. So that's a 6-point line swing, which is absolutely massive. And if you can get out ahead of that move, and if you can predict which way the public's going to go, then you can make money because you can take a side +2 and then come back later on and take the opposition +4 and you can't lose.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Look, I can't bet on this game now because I like the South Sydney Rabbitohs. Mm-hmm. I think they're the better side, but it's still early in the season. It's hard to predict exactly what's going to happen. Now the line's moved all the way to 4. I don't see the value there because I need them to win by a converted try or more for me to win that bet.
Yeah, because they never win by 5, really.
No, teams don't win by 5, so I'm staying away from that game. How about you?
It's a pass for me too, and as Jacob said, we both played them when they were getting 2 points, but now they're giving up 4 points, and the value's totally been sucked out, and we're going to pass on this game. And that's another thing to take in mind. You don't have to bet on every game. That's the advantage that you have as a bettor. So if we don't see any value, we're going to let you know to pass the game, and that could save you some money in the long run. Yeah,
a bad bet not made is just as good as a good bet made.
That's exactly right. So the next game we're going to is the Eels at home to the Sea Eagles. Now the Parramatta Eels are +1.5. Sakib?
I mean, as you know, for the three of you out there that listened to the pod last week, we're not huge fans of the Manly Sea Eagles.
No, we're not, and we think this will probably be a worse season for them than last. But in saying that, you've still got Foran, you've still got Cherry Evans, you've got a solid team there. And as you said, they'll be trying to make a statement in this first game.
Yeah, I mean, you've got like the two best players on the team, in my opinion, Foran and Cherry Evans. Both most likely not going to be there next season, but they're still absolute class players, great leaders, and they're not going to throw this season away. They're going to come out with a purpose. I think they're going to show that they still want to perform well this season, make rep teams, and still carry that team as far as they can. The other thing is, I'm critical of this side because it's a bit older, but this is game 1 of the season, so they're not going to be too fatigued. They're going to be pretty fresh. It's not a great time to go against Manly. But I don't want to play on Manly here because Para at home, it's actually an underrated team. That backline with Hopewadi, Radradra, Corey Norman in the halves, Nathan Peets at hooker. It's a solid team.
Yeah.
I'm staying away from that game too.
Big forward pack as well. Anthony Watmo's come out and said he wants a little bit of revenge there. So once again, this is a game that we're going to stay away from this week. Moving on, we've got the Newcastle Knights hosting the Warriors. Now, the predominant line is the Newcastle Knights getting 2 points, so plus 2 points. But if you do shop around, you can find a 2.5 out there. We think this is a little bit of value.
Yeah, now that's another point we want to make. Like, it does pay to have multiple betting accounts if you can. I mean, and why not? They all offer promotions to join up and get free bets, so why not join a few of them? There's no real downside, and the massive upside is you can look at a game on all your different sites, and you can find the side that you like and get the most points that you can get. And in this case, we're going to be grabbing some points with the Knights. We see a pretty evenly matched game on paper. This Knights team, we think it's a little better than everyone else realises. Touched on that last week. It's a really quality backline. The forwards might be a little skinny, but I think early in the season, that actually makes them a bit more mobile, a bit of a fitter team. The Warriors haven't done enough to impress me over the last couple of years. I just haven't seen improvement. I don't see a lot of quality there beyond Johnson. And yet, the Warriors are the favourites here in Newcastle, in Australia. Well, hang on. The Warriors are awesome at Eden Park, but
they're a lot better home team than they are an away team.
Yeah.
And that's something that we should also touch on. Sometimes people look at teams and they say, well, look, they've got this great record, perhaps. They've been doing really well. But you have to sometimes look at what their record is at home and then sometimes look at their record away from home because it can be a totally different team.
Yeah.
And the Warriors are one of those teams. They haven't travelled at all in the off-season to play any games. They're not used to the travel. The Knights have been practising at their home turf for the whole off-season. It's a big trip for the Warriors to make first game of the season. I don't think they're going to be ready for it. The travel's tough for them. And this is going to be, I think, if we have a consensus on this, we're going to make Newcastle Knights plus 2.5 a best bet for this week.
Yep, I agree. And it's floating, like you said, mostly twos in places. And I think that if anything, people are going to be betting plus 2. So I say get out there now, grab the highest line you can on the Knights. You'll make some good money there. Yep. Grab the Knights plus 2.5.
If you can grab it 2.5, grab it now. Now we'll move on. The Titans hosting the Tigers.
And I mean, we all know about the drug scandal. Greg Bird, was the captain, played for Australia. He's gone. The coke train's gone. This team's in crisis mode. But the Tigers aren't the best team in the comp either. Looking on paper, the Titans still aren't too bad. They've got a pretty good and pretty young backline. You've still got a bit of leadership in the forward pack with Nate Miles. He's a good captain, a good leader. I've got Ryan James that spoke about last week too. I really think he's going to break out. The Tigers, on the other hand, I don't think they're quite ready to take the next step this season.
Well, that's it. They've still got a very young team. Look, they've had a new coach, got a little bit of stability there. But on paper, the team is, I'd say they're fairly similar to the Titans roster. And the line for this one, it's 6 points. The Titans are getting 6 points here, plus 6. And whenever you can get a converted try, you can find plus 6.5 in some places actually, and that'll probably be gone soon, I'd say.
Yeah. So basically, what we have here, you guys probably think we're crazy taking the Titans. This is a team we're probably tipping to win the wooden spoon, but they're at home. 6 points is too many points.
Yep.
And if you shop around, there's still a couple of 6.5s. They're not going to last for long. Yep. I think the Sharps are going to grab 6.5 in what's a pretty even game. You're going to give me the home team with an extra 6.5 points head start. That's the best bet for me. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I'll co-sign on that. And look, the first game of the season, there's always a lot of variability there. You don't really know how the rosters are going to gel together. Some of them have new players here and there. And whenever you can get, a converted try or more at home, I'm happy to play that, and I'm happy to co-sign that as our second best bet.
2 best bets in a row.
So take the Titans plus 6.5 where you can grab it. I don't think they're going to be there for much longer, so get in quick.
that's the first 4 games of the round. Now we're going to keep this rapid, and we're going to try and answer as many more of your questions that came in this week. So let's kick off rapid fire questions. And I've got one here straight away. Bruce in Mount Isa says, who wins the Dally M this season? Don't just say Thurston.
Well, if you have to ask me, I'd probably say, look, we both think that the Panthers are going to have a great season this year. They had another great season last year. Soward's good, but I think the best player on that team is Matt Moylan, and he's probably a roughie for the Dally M this year for me.
That's a really good call, I reckon.
Now, we've got Pete from Kedron. Now, he's asked which forward pack and which team's backline is the best. And if you could put together an ultimate team with a forward pack and a backline, which teams would you choose, and what coach would you choose to coach that team?
Geez, a few teams out there have pretty wicked backlines. I can't really go past the Roosters there. I just think with experience, bringing in Blake Ferguson as well, 2 of us are checked to fullback. I'm picking the Roosters. Forward pack, I can't go past the Doggies, led by James Graham. And to coach them, probably got to go with Bellamy.
Yep, that's a fair call.
I've got one here from Michael in Hamilton again. He writes...
He's a loyal listener, isn't he?
He is. One way to put it.
Yeah.
I'm one of 3 people who actually listened to 15 minutes of that garbage last week. Why won't you let me do a horse racing segment?
Now, in the off-season, Michael did hit us up a few times to do a horse racing segment. He gave us 3 best bets, all of which we did air on the pod. 2 of those bets came last. One of the jockeys actually fell off the horse. But I don't think that's why we're not letting him on the pod. It's just because he's playing rude.
That's quite rude. And surely more than 3 people listen to the pod. I mean, I know at least 3 people that listen to the pod. And then obviously I listen to the pod. You listen to the pod.
Yep.
You did listen to the pod, didn't you?
Yeah, well, it was a little bit long.
That's true. Hopefully it'll be a little shorter this week.
Now we've got, Pete from Kedron has another question here. Now, who was the best pickup of the off-season?
Well, that's easy. I'd say Trent Merrin, now dating Sally Fitzgibbons. And if you've seen Trent Merrin and you've seen Sally Fitzgibbons, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about.
I think he might have been talking about non-field pickup. And in which case, if he's saying that, then I can't go past Brett Morris. I think he's a good pickup for the Doggies. How about yourself?
Yeah, that's a good call, reuniting with his brother. For me, can't go past Anthony Milford.
Yep.
Future State of Origin 5'8".
Loyal Bronco listeners out there.
One more question I've got here. This is from Neil in Hobart, and he says, if I think a game is going to be really close, but I have the side I know is going to win, would you recommend betting 1 to 12 to get a bit of extra value?
Look, to be honest, mate, we don't recommend betting the 1 to 12 or the 13 plus, and the reason being, look, if you're holding a 1 to 12 ticket in your hand, no matter what the score is at any point in time, one converted try either way can sometimes lose you that bet. And they do suck out, Sportsbet and the betting sites do suck out a bit of value from those 1 to 12 and the 13 plus bets. So if you like a side, we just recommend you play them with the line.
And just one more point I want to add on that. I said I reckon the Dragons are going to be just too good for the Knights, but it's going to be low scoring. It's going to be close. It was 12 all, extra time. Dragons won. I went to cash my ticket. No, I lost. Because that bet's an 80-minute bet. So I was dead right about the 1 to 12, and I still lost. Mm-hmm. And I'll never do that again.
Yep, no, that's a fair call. Now we have one more viewer question from Belinda. Now she says, season 2015 is here. What are you boys looking forward to most this season?
Geez, so many things. I'm so pumped the footy's back, but I guess I have to say, just that feeling of like a tight, epic game, back and forth. There's 10 minutes to go, tempers are flaring, the game's in the balance, maybe your bet's in the balance, and just for a brief moment there, you forget about how bad your life is.
Yep, that is a good feeling.
Shall we get back to the games?
Let's get back to the games. So moving on. Now we've got the Cowboys hosting the Roosters. Now the Cowboys are actually favourites for this game, and now you're going to have to lay 2.5 points if you want to take them.
Well, all I'll say about this game, the reason I'm not betting it, that Roosters team is sweet. That Roosters team is really going to roll this season. But I'm not betting against a Cowboys team that won 12 out of 13 games at home last season. Two awesome sides here. This is a game I'm going to look to bet on the team that loses.
Yep.
Next week.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing about that is often the first game of the season, everyone's watching, everyone's turned their TV on for the first game of the season. They remember what happens. Now, they see a team lose, and especially lose badly, then you should perhaps look at playing that team the next week because no one's going to want to bet on them, and you might find a little bit of extra value there. But I think that both of these teams are teams that we're going to look to bet on this year. We're both thinking they will probably be top 4. So, that being said, I don't think we can justify a play on either of these teams.
Yeah, and ditto for the next game.
Yep.
This is actually your grand final prediction, is it not?
Sorry, not exactly. Yeah, well, it's 2 of our grand final predictions.
Yep,
you had the Panthers and I had the Doggies. 2 teams that we love this year. Now the Panthers are at home, but they're slight underdogs. They're getting 1.5 points. But look, in saying that, they're both very solid teams. Both teams that we're going to be looking to play on. And a similar sort of thing that can be said for this one. Whoever loses this game, especially if they lose by a margin and everyone sees it, we may be looking to play them next week.
When you've got a really good team, they're not going to allow their opponent to play well. So you're going to have the loser of this game not looking all that good. But people have this kind of mentality of what have you done for me lately, and a bit of recency bias, and people will remember last week a lot more than they'll remember a whole body of work from last season. So again, I'm going to look really closely at the loser of this game to win next week.
Yep, no, I'd agree with that. Now next we've got Michael from Hamilton's Sharkies hosting the cellar dwellers that we think of this year, the Canberra Raiders. Now the Cronulla Sharks are actually laying 7.5 points, so starting... Well, if you want to bet on them, you're going to bet on them starting with a 7.5 point deficit. That's probably the first time in a long time that the Sharks have been 7.5 point favourites.
That's fair to say, and it's just not quite a full strength Sharks side yet. We don't have Luke Lewis. It's still early in the season. That Raiders side, it's not very good, but it's just not terrible enough for me to feel confident, laying 7.5 points in this game. I'm going to leave this one alone. I don't want to, especially in the first game of the season where everybody is even and everybody believes in themselves. You don't have teams giving up at all. Every team's giving max effort. I'm not going to give up 7.5 points, but I'm not going to go against this Sharkies team that I tipped to make the top 8 either.
Yeah, I agree. And sometimes it does take, the Sharkies have added a lot of pieces on the off-season, and sometimes it does take a little bit for that to gel throughout the season.
And no bigger piece than Michael Ennis.
Yep, absolute piece. But at the same time, look, 1/3 of the games last year ended in 6 points or less as a winning margin. So, look, we can't really co-sign off laying 7.5 points with the Sharks, with the Raiders. You just can't trust them.
And just one final point on that. The Sharkies are up 12. You think you've cashed your tickets, and then the Raiders can sneak in the back door.
Yep. All right, last game, Monday night. The Dragons hosting the Storm. Now, the Dragons are 2-point underdogs, +2. Storm, you have to lay 2 if you want to bet them with the line.
And this game is a bit like the Parramatta versus the Manly game. We've got the team that we don't like on the road with the older players. You'd think we should be betting on the home team, but one of the reasons I want to go against the Storm is because they're relying on guys that are playing a lot of games this year, and in Origin games and things like that, and they're going to be worn out. But they're not going to be worn out in round 1. I think the Storm can put up a good effort here. I'm not going against the Dragons team I think's underrated, but I think it is a pretty close game. The line's pretty close to right, so I'm leaving that one alone too.
Yeah, I agree. And the line hasn't moved too much since it's opened. The Dragons opened 2-point underdogs. We do like the Dragons for this year. The Storm are ageing, as we've said. Cooper Cronk is still a beast. Cam Smith ageing, so is Billy Slater. But at the same time, it's the first game of the season. The rigours of the season haven't really caught up to him yet. We will be looking to bet against the Storm probably later, through the midway point of the season.
Definitely.
But we think this game's probably a stay away for us.
Yeah, and that's it. That's the round previewed. So should we just wrap up the best bets?
Yeah, maybe we should wrap it up.
Proudly sponsored by Heathy, this section.
Yep. Wrap it up.
Wrap that mother up.
All right, so we'll just recap our 2 best bets for the week. Now, play them, don't play them, but we suggest you do. So the first one we have is the Knights, +2.5. Grab it where you can. There's 2s mostly out there, but make sure you shop around, get a few different betting sites, and grab that 2.5 while you can. Now the second one we're going against everyone, probably in Australia, when we say take the Gold Coast Titans plus 6.5 where you can. There are sixes out there, but shop around, get that 6.5, get the best line, give yourself the best chance.
Yep, so taking a couple of the ugly ducklings this week. Only 2 best bets because round 1 was really, we don't know too much. We haven't seen, the form yet. So just a couple of best bets.
Yep.
We might give out more each week throughout the season when we've got a bit more of sample size to work off.
Yeah, well, and that's also the thing, some weeks we may have 2, some weeks we may have 5, and some weeks really, we'll try and give you 1 every week, but some weeks there might not be a play.
Yeah, and there's no point, forcing it because, you have to give up that 5% edge with the sportsbook. So
that's it.
We've got to pick our spots to make you guys the most money possible.
Yeah. And if you do want to play a game that, you don't really believe in too much, just throw some beer money on it, maybe just $100 and don't go into those 4 or 5 figures.
And that'll just about do us. Lastly, I just want to say good luck, enjoy the weekend, and please gamble responsibly.